What's up guys, it's Scoopman5000 back for another action figure review, and today we got the long-awaited Batman and Spawn 2-pack from the DC Multiverse, based on comics by Todd McFarlane. Like a lot of things recently, with McFarlane, mostly reused parts here, but we got Batman and Spawn in the same box, and it only made sense, right? The relationship between these two brands now, with Todd at the helm. So it's exciting. I think this would look excellent. Get this mint on card, get a nice green pen, and have the Todd McFarlane signature across it. Maybe I'll do that one day, based on comics by Todd McFarlane. So they don't tell you exactly which issues these are based on. They're kind of amalgams. On the back here, this definitely looks like Greg Capullo to me. I don't remember if this is actually Todd's artwork. Let's get to it. Let's get Batman and Spawn out of the package.
You remind me of another Dark Knight.
The billion-dollar crusader. He's a friend.
It seems we are both well-traveled.
And here's Batman out of the packaging. And for the accessories, both figures do come with the trading card. Interesting to note that Spawn actually has a Spawn trading card and not a DC Multiverse trading card. Same goes for the figure stand. Usually we don't even talk about this, but Spawn's does have a large Spawn emblem on his. We do get the base, which we do get with our 2-packs. And then we get this really awesome artwork. And then I actually made a noise when I saw this. I don't know if I just wasn't expecting it. From the back of the box that actually inserts into the base, and if you flip that around, it's kind of a backdrop with some skeletons or skulls on it. But I actually really like the card art. Remind me a lot of the movie Maniacs, which I absolutely love this thing. Really nostalgic feeling, the movie Maniacs stand. For Batman, you do get these open action hands, and then he does come with a left fist and a right grip, and in that right grip you can stick this big stupid Batarang. We've probably seen this one before. I'm not a fan of this style, and this is definitely an interesting figure. I think we gotta start with, I guess, what you'd call the elephant in the room, the face sculpt here. Now, especially look at this artwork. And again, I think this is actually Capullo's work. But does that look anything like this to you? And I'm going to raise you one more. Do we not have this head sculpt sitting right in front of you? Dark Knight's metal, Batman. I actually want to try to do a head swap, but I don't know if the neck pegs are the same size. But again, let's bring the artwork back. Let's get him profiled up. It's about as good as it's going to get. Now, interesting to note, I do love the long ears. Let's get that out of the way. That's how 90s style Spawn Batman should be. That carries over into the gauntlets with the long spikes. I'm noticing the eyes have some kind of pearlescent, some kind of gold paint about them. They're not white. I don't remember if Batman gets possessed in Spawn Batman or something. I have the trade that they came out with. I'm gonna have to dig that one out and cross-reference. This mouth might actually, I was gonna say maybe it was a mouth plate. It'd be reusing that ugly Hush Batman, but I don't think so. They just went with an equally ugly expression. I do really love the cape, the way it flares up here, similar to Flashpoint Batman and a lot of the Batman designs of the 90s. That'll transition us into this cape. And if you're not a fan of this style of cape, this is about the most of this style of cape you can get. Big piece of thick rubber plastic here. Let's look at it from the back. And that is a nice sculpt. That's some very nice drape going on there. The way these shoulders go up, this part goes over it. But I mean, he's going to definitely limit your posing. And unless you're using this DC figure stand, he's probably going to be falling over. I do love the dark, almost slate gray that they went with here. Similar to Vampire Batman almost. Speaking of which, I would love to see a Kelly Jones style Vampire Batman using most of this figure sculpt. With these reuses, at least we're getting very good color choices. I love the gray and this almost orangey yellow. Does look ripped straight out of the 90s comics. Being as this is a derivative figure, it's going to be similar articulation, but the head does seem pretty limited. Doesn't go back much at all. Forward is actually pretty excellent, better than most. Side to side is whatever. And then the rest of them, we're used to it with these McFarlane Batmans. Always afraid the shoulders are going to break like Year 2 did. Otherwise, everything else is where it should be. And you know what? He is giving me Kenner right now. And it's kind of winning me over as I review him. Let's get him in with Year 2 Batman, the other McFarlane comic book version. And I think this is mostly reusing that figure, which is a good thing because he's very difficult to get. You do get the spikier gauntlets like I mentioned. Even this head sculpt might have been better as a neutral version. But again, this is what we're left with. I mean, I actually kind of like it now that I'm looking at him here. Kind of going back on my words. And here we go with Nightfall Batman, who we just got. And I kind of wish Nightfall Batman skewed a bit more to this crazy 90s look, because he's a bit realistic looking for those 90s books. Bringing back Capullo Batman for one more comparison. And you know, it's crazy. This was such a tall figure, and now every Batman is even taller nowadays. If you want your Batman and your Superman to be really angry, McFarlane's got you covered with the Doomsday 2-pack version we just looked at. Here he is with Todd McFarlane designer Batman. really a guilty pleasure of mine. One of my favorites from the Multiverse line. While we're at it, let's throw in the Todd designed Wonder Woman. There you go. And that leaves us with Todd McFarlane's own Spawn, and his only accessory being the big Buster sword. Now, we have a lot of Spawn weapons from this line, but I think this one is brand new, and I do really like it. And this one's even got like a rust about it, or like a bronze on the bottom that fades up into a silver. It's a pretty cool effect. And just looking at him on the spinny right here is pretty incredible. Now, this is pretty much, like a lot of these figures, 100% reuse of Throne Spawn. Now, Throne Spawn was basically the way to get classic Spawn in the actual Spawn line. Otherwise, you just get the Mortal Kombat version. But now here we go in a DC Multiverse box. And he's got the full cape. Now again, not to be nitpicky, not to gripe, but I'm going to do it. Let's go ahead back and let's look at the artwork. They gave us a nice big printout of it. You'll notice some things. We are missing the red paint that goes in his costume here. I think that would have been a big difference maker. Made it different from the Throne Spawn version. Also, if you notice here, there's no big boot on classic Spawn. That's a modern-ish, like 2000s invention, is the big boot. And even though we've got a couple of facsimiles of a classic Spawn, we've yet to get a Spawn that doesn't have the big boot. And this piece has been reused ever since the first Mortal Kombat Spawn. And then if you want to get super nitpick, he shouldn't really have like the Venom toes on his feet there. They should be more like superhero boots. Again, all those things out of the way, this is probably the best looking Spawn you can get, other than probably the Kickstarter version. But that you got to deal with the big plastic cape, or the Shadow of Spawn from Mortal Kombat. But that one has the big boot, and it makes almost no sense because he's in a blue and red classic version. And now that we have Throne Spawn, and we do have him with a big cape, and this cape is probably the best they've ever made. I mean, just look at all that. They even got a great wash going down here. I think this is the definitive Spawn for your 7-inch Spawn shelf. Again, you got to buy a DC Multiverse box to get him. Goddamn, I mean, just look at him standing there. And that's what McFarlane's are best at. So in terms of execution, it's done brilliantly. But again, I wish that they painted the red here to make him different, and they got rid of the boot. Bring in Throne Spawn now, and you could see really the only difference, there is a bit of a finish difference, and I think this one does look a lot better. But again, mainly it's down to the cape. Now this one's actually completely removable. And that way you can get better poses out of this guy, or you could make him into a commando or something. But this right here, this is presence. This is cape perfection. Looks just like the Capullo version to me. Now let's see how he moves around with this cape in the way. I'm sure it's going to limit something. The head is very expressive, but when you start to turn it this way, the big collar of the cape is going to be blocking it. So you're going to want him turned to this side most of the time. Torso, it moves, but again, cape is prohibiting that from going any further back. And even when you go forward, the cape is going to weigh it backwards. Same thing for the shoulders here, especially this side. You're going to be fighting against it. I'm not even going to try. It's one of the better diapers of the Spawn. It does help that this chain piece does kind of cover up some of it. Nice split. Some Spawn cheeks are blocking him from kickback. Forwards there. Double knee. I think these are the same legs from Mortal Kombat Spawn. And then a hinge and a swivel at this foot. And you do kind of get that here, but the boot is obviously going to be doing most of the work. And now this one's basically going to live on the throne, otherwise he's pretty useless. So again, here he is with Throne Spawn. Should put the 2-pack together before I forget, so there you go. A lot of cape with Todd Batman, that looks pretty good. Here's Todd Wonder Woman. These two definitely look like they live in the same world. Here he is with Year 2 Batman, looking pretty good. And this is awesome right here with the other Hell Spawns, Mandarin Spawn, and the Gunslinger. And you're building a pretty definitive display with these two. And to build on top of that, here we go with She Spawn and with the Clown. Now with Sam and Twitch, seriously some of my favorites from last year. Finally with our other classic version so far, Shadow of Spawn from Mortal Kombat 11. That is going to do it for the Batman and Spawn 2-pack. This one's pretty fun. I mean, it's reuse. You don't need it. But to see these two in one box together, again, back to the beginning, I think a mint-on card with a Todd autograph slapped on the front, that'd be the ultimate piece for your 7-inch McFarlane collection. But even taking them out, I love the art card with the display stand. Both figures are pretty excellent, actually. I didn't even want to like Batman going into this, but now the more I look at him, he looks like a stupid, like Legends of the Dark Knight Kenner figure. And that's fun. That's cool. I want more things like that, so even if it's a bit ugly, I'm having a lot of fun with this guy. And the Spawn, even, I went into it with all these complaints, but just look at him. He's a unit, and he is Spawn. He's a diffusion of Spawn. Like, in your mind, what does he look like? Boom. Big-ass cape, big sword, stance, presence. That's all you want. So I gotta say, go with this one. I think it'll surprise you if you were hesitant going into this. As always, I'm gonna leave it off with some figure photography, and you can check that out on my Instagram as well. We're doing all kinds of reels and shorts over there as well. You can check out my second channel. There's Billy Kincaid driving by. You can check out my second channel. We're reviewing DC and Marvel movies over there. I'm also on Twitter. And with that, I'll see you guys in the next action figure review.